Good evening, hockey fans. We're here at C6 at the Cooperator Center for Friday night matchup between your Regina Monarchs and the visiting Warman Wildcats. Warman Wildcats have been playing some good hockey lately. They lost their first game of the season 3-2, went on to rattle off 7 in a row. Those 7 in a row beating teams up fairly bad for the most part, scoring 9 or 10 goals a game on average. So we'll see if the Monarchs can shut them down here tonight. Nixon right in goal for the Monarchs. They've got Mr. Hill in net for the Warman Wildcats. And we'll see what's going to happen. We've got Lakin Thurmeyer starting up front with Jagger Dutka, Jarrett Yawanchuk, Tom Chuck, and Marshall on the back end. Warman wins that draw back to Wildeboer. He moves up. Stevens and Tom Chuck come together. Tom Chuck's going to go off after that. Shot on net quickly by Lakin Thurmeyer as he got a chance there on a bit of a quick 2-on-1, and he's going to sort of throw it into the chest of Hill for his first shot on net of the night. And we'll get a face-off over to Hill's left. Right-hand catch goalie, Mr. Hill for Warman. Wholesale change there now for the Monarchs. Going to come right to Roy and Ash. Right in front, he scores! Roy and Ash gets the Monarchs on the board 16 seconds into the game. That'll be from Xander Klapik off the draw there at 16 seconds. Nice quick shot through the 5-hole for Roy and Ash. Top goal scorer so far for the Monarchs, and he continues his hot streak. That might be about number 8 for him on the year, I believe. And they're going to stay with those guys. That was about 2 seconds after that face-off, so Klapik's line will remain out there. That's McLennan and Ash with him. Jones for the Wildcats going to get it in deep. Wright's going to grab that and throw it up the boards to McLennan. McLennan's going to chip it off the glass out. Jones is going to grab that. He's going to maybe think of going D to D, but Roy and Ash there to cut that off, and he's going to get it into the middle of the ice. Maddox Schmulin back after a sort of a game and a half off, actually. Schmulin had a bit of a knee injury in the first period of the game against the Pat Blues last Saturday, and then was missing with an illness. Thurmeyer back out with his line. Tanner Greenslade playing a bit of forward by the looks of it here today. He's going to chip that in deep and get in on the forecheck. Jones is on him. Dutka tries to throw it out into the middle to Thurmeyer, but that comes to Scriven. Scriven moves it up to Nekreko. This would be definitely the top line for the Wildcats. Stevenson, Nekreko, and Scrivens all close to the top of the lead in scoring in the league. Dayton Marshall with it now. Tries to backhand it across to Dutka. Tries another time, and then another time. He finally gets it to the front of the net, and Hill's going to be there, and he's going to cover it up, and we'll get a draw over to his right this time. Stevenson, Nekreko, and Scriven going to stay out there for the Wildcats. Thurmeyer pokes it through, but Nekreko's there to break that up, and he's with it now in the middle to Scrivens. Scrivens past Marshall. Marshall just gets enough of him to break it up there. Tomchuk back up the boards to Marshall, but that's not going to quite work, but it's going to come to the blue line. Wildeboer puts it in, and that's just out of the reach of Nekreko. Going to come all the way back to the Wildcats D-man, gets it in the middle to Wildeboer. Back in behind the net, Tomchuk's there, hit by Scrivens. They just sort of come together. Nekreko with it there. He's going to try to move it back. Stevenson's going to grab it there for the Wildcats. He's going to fake around a couple guys and going to try to get a shot away, but doesn't quite do that. Tomchuk's trying to work it out. He does. A little bit of a mini 2-on-1 there for a second, but the Monarchs definitely need a change after that hard defensive zone shift against that top line for Warman. Reschke, Wang, Tendler are going to come out now up front for the Monarchs. Warman chips it in deep behind Popwich. Popwich going to go after him. They're going to come together. Physical play there by 17. Wang comes down and lays the body on him. Popwich and Reschke both there. Number 17 for the Wildcats, definitely wreaking havoc down there. Going to come back to Jones. Jones is going to sort of throw it off Keovic, and that's going to be a penalty on. I believe Jake Popovich sort of had his hand draped over the shoulder of Kajevic. Wildcats now have 6 bodies out on the ice as Hill went to the bench. That puck comes back to number 12 at the blue line. He gets it into number 17, Warman, still controlling the puck. Levi Tendler had a chance to grab it there, but they're going to put it into the corner, and Popovich is going to grab that, and I believe it's going to be him going off for a hold. See what the Monarchs penalty kill looks like against this strong Warman power play. We haven't played Warman yet. I guess that's an assumption on my part that they've got it going, but with these 3 forwards up there and close to the top of the league in scoring, I assume they're able to put the puck in the net on the power play. They've got Stevenson playing actually on the back end on the power play, so going with the 4 forward power play unit for Warman. Klapik just about able to strip Stevenson there, but he's able to keep that puck on his stick. Goes down in the Krakow, but Tomchuk grabs that off of his stick and throws it all the way down. Warman starts moving it up the right side, drops it back there to Stevenson. Stevenson moving through the neutral zone, past Ash, around Klapik. Tries to go around Tomchuk. Tomchuk pushes him to the corner. He loses the puck right on the stick of Marshall. And Marshall's going to rip it all the way down. Both forwards on the Monarchs penalty kill are going to go for a change. Jones moving it up there. Thurmeyer and Wang out there on the penalty kill now. Power play unit changed up for the Wildcats as well. Greenslade now playing a shift on defense here on the penalty kill. Wildebauer there, shot on net. Nice save there by Nixon Wright, right into his glove. If I'm not mistaken, might be his first shot of the evening. 4 minutes and 13 seconds in. If you're just joining us, 1-0 Monarchs on an early goal by Roy Nash, 16 seconds in. But now the Monarchs are on the penalty kill. Jake Popovich off for holding. Lucas Wang goes and grabs that puck after the face-off, and he's going to rip it all the way down the ice. He's going to stop it behind the net, and his defenseman's going to pick it up there. Olmstead gets it up through the middle to Johnston, but that was a bit of a slow pass, so that's going to stop the power play unit right there in the middle of the neutral zone, battling back and forth. Greenslade trying to rip it all the way down into a couple bodies in the neutral zone. That's going to be at least two or more for, I believe that's Johnston down there for the Wildcats. He rode Tanner Greenslade into the boards pretty heavily, and we'll see what that call is. I assume potentially a boarding penalty, but we'll see what the call is. Interference, actually. Sorry about that. And yeah, we'll see what the Monarchs can do here on the power play. 4-on-4 for another 20 seconds. After that 4-on-4, the Monarchs will have 1:40 or less on the power play. Brody Reschke wins that draw cleanly back to Tomchuk. Tomchuk shot off the stick of Hill into the corner. Jarrett Iwanchuk on that. He's rode into the board by Scriven. Iwanchuk still battling hard there. Stevenson's out with it for the Wildcats. Stevenson working around Marshall, and then he works around Tomchuk, still with it. Scriven sort of tripped up there by Wright as he's going to the net. Now Scriven with the puck right beside the net, and he shoots, takes a shot and goes off the side of the net. Marshall with it now. Now we do have a power play for the Monarchs. Dayton Marshall's going to move it in. He's going to drop it there for Tomchuk, but Scriven is right there, and he's going to rip it all the way down the ice. 1:20 left here on the Monarchs power play. Roy Nash with it. He loses it to Kajevic. Marshall's going to give him a bit of a ride, and Klapik's going to end up with it behind the net over to Tomchuk on the near side. Tomchuk sauces it all the way over to Marshall. Marshall through the neutral zone. Dayton Marshall stops up, moves it all the way over here to Tomchuk. Tomchuk takes a shot, scores! Nash Tomchuk shot through a whole bunch of bodies. Hill didn't see it once, and it slipped past him on the glove side. That's Nash Tomchuk, definitely Dayton Marshall on the assist. Not sure I think it might have been Roy and Ash that moved it over to him, but Tomchuk from Marshall for sure. 2-0 Monarchs. Only 6 minutes in here to the first period. See if they can keep up the good work. They've been keeping the puck away from their net, and a couple good clean shots. One even strength goal early by Ash, and now that power play goal there by Nash Tomchuk. Faceoff's going to be here to Nixon Wright's right. Lakin Thurmeyer on the faceoff for the Monarchs against Kovic for the Wildcats. Thurmeyer's going to win that back. Price is going to grab it. Nice move around Johnston. Price still with it. Price is going to get on his horse. Johnston can move. Stevens coming across. Stevens is a big body there. He was coming in to lay the boom on Price, but Price was able to sneak a little bit past him. Final goal was 14-10. That's Tomchuk, Marshall, and Reschke weighing in 10. They're out here now. Reschke clean win on that draw against Hood. Back to Popwich. Popwich is going to rip it in behind Hill. Over to the corner to Tendler. Tendler gets his stick sort of jammed up in the gate over there and doesn't get a stick on it. That's going to come out to the neutral zone. Popwich will rip it back in deep. Weighing on the puck there. He's got to finish his check there, in my opinion, but they're going to rip it all the way down, and that's going to go for icing. We don't have the hybrid icing here at the U15 level, so even though the Warman player was a little bit out ahead of the Monarchs defenseman, that's still going to go for icing. Reschke back on the draw here again. 13 minutes, 22 seconds left here in the first period. 2-0 Monarchs. Reschke loses that draw. Wildcats have it behind their own net. Move it up to Biden. Biden tries to get it up the board. Comes on Reschke's stick. He gets pickpocketed as he's going for it. Skolin moves it over to Popwich. Popwich falls, but he gets up quick and moves it out to the neutral zone. Wildebauer moves it up to Viden. I assume that is, sorry. He's in on Skolin. Skolin takes a hit. Tendler there now. Tendler's going to move it back to Skolin. Skolin falls. Scriven's there. Scriven moves it back to Johns. Skolin there with it, and he's able to move it out to the neutral zone. Mayo on it. Mayo moves it over to Scrivens. Scriven into Johns. Johns has Necreo back door. He does find him. Got a bit of a stick save there by Wright. The puck comes free, but right under the stick of Xander Klapik. Xander Klapik's going to reverse back, put it right on the stick of Scrivens. That is bad news. Got to be willing to take a hit to make a play there. Klapik tries to reverse back and ended up going right back into three dangerous players for the Wildcats, and they cut that lead in half to 2-1. Klapik, McLennan, and Ash are going to stay out there, see if they can get that one back. Marshall and Tomchuk. Lundy, Klapik on the draw against Stevenson there. Klapik wins it back to Marshall. Marshall has it. He rips it in, actually off the head of Jones there. And in deep, Mayo's on it for Warman. He's able to get it up to Necreko. Necreko backhand off the boards into the neutral zone, right on the stick of Marshall, and he's going to rip it back in behind Hill. Hill stops it there for Mayo. Mayo takes a hit from Ash. He moves it up to Jones, though, cleanly. Jones tries to backhand it over to Scrivens. Tomchuk moves in a little early. Necreko tries to move it backdoor. Klapik came back hard and bothered him enough to not be able to get a stick on it. Klapik there working on Scrivens again. Scriven can move it in deep. Marshall gives it away to Stevenson. Bad guy to give it away to there, but another shot on net. Bit of a scramble play there, and Tomchuk's going to move it out to the neutral zone. Ash is going to be able to get that out of the hands of the Warman defenseman and get it in deep and get a wholesale change there for the Monarchs. Kovic tried to chip it all the way in, doesn't quite get it all the way deep. Price is going to try to move it up the boards to Iwanchuk. He can't quite do that. Dutka with the breakaway here. Dutka misses the net. Stevens there with it now. Stevens working on Price. Price just gets in the way enough for him to need to get rid of the puck. Kovic gets it all the way, and Price is going to be the first one there for the Monarchs. He takes a big hit from Stevens. Willing to take a hit to make a play, and now we got a 2-on-1. Dutka and Thurmeyer. Dutka tries to move it over to Thurmeyer just in between his stick and his skates, but Thurmeyer's able to be the first one there. Move it down. Iwanchuk out to Dutka. He scores! Jagger Dutka left all alone in front. Monarchs are able to get that Warman goal back quickly. Great little play out there. Iwanchuk getting it out front. Thurmeyer would have got the second assist on that. That'll be Dutka from Iwanchuk and Thurmeyer. 3-1 Monarchs. 10 minutes to go here in the first period. That Thurmeyer line's going to stay out there. That play all starts with Calder Price back in his own zone, willing to take a hit right on the near side at the hash marks, willing to take a hit to make a play. That ends up spraying them on a 2-on-1 and goes all the way in for the third goal for the Monarchs of the night. Warman now putting some pressure on the Monarchs behind the Monarchs net. Skolan's there. Skolan battling against Hood. Skolan gets it over Thurmeyer's there. Thurmeyer comes in and tries to lay a hit on Viden. Skolan getting in the way of Viden there. He tries to chip it up off the glass. Dutka working there on Johns. Viden there trying to see Hood down in front of the net. Thurmeyer's going to flip it over the head of Johns all the way down the ice, and that was very, very close to no icing, but Dutka went in and laid a little bit of a hit on them, and they're not as happy about it. But they are going to, now they're not going to allow them to change. Thurmeyer line, as I was saying on that icing, they're going to have to stay out there. End of a fairly long shift here. They're getting a little bit of a break after Marshall's having a conversation with the ref. I assume a little strategy behind that and trying to give his guys out there a little bit more of a rest. Warman comes out with their top line against this tired group. Wright's going to jump on that smartly, and they're going to get a wholesale change here for the Monarchs. Tomchuk and Marshall are going to come out on D. I assume they're going to have those two out as much as possible against this Stevenson line for Warman. Reschke, Greenslade, and Wang coming out. Wang there working on Nakreko. Nakreko works it out, trying to get it past Marshall. He loses it, but it's right back on his tape. Now three of them coming in. Stevenson there, over to Scrivens, back across, and that's that. Sort of right there in front of the goal line, but that's able to be cleared there by the Monarchs defenseman. Comes all the way back to Mayo at the Monarchs blue line. Greenslade there. Greenslade, again, willing to take a bit of a hit there to make a play, and now it's almost out of the zone. Now it comes out. Great play there by Tanner Greenslade to get it over. Brody Reschke's going to end up getting that puck deep. Wang's going to go in there on Stevenson. Nice little play to beat him. He's going to move it all the way up to Nakreko. Nakreko trying to find Scriven in behind Tomchuk, but that's not going to work. This Warman line, end of a long shift. They're going to go off for a change, and Marshall's going to grab that behind his own net. Marshall moves it all the way up to Tomchuk, off his stick to Ash. Ash moves it back to Nash. Tomchuk through the middle. Tomchuk's rode out there nicely by Johnston. But back on the stick of Ash. Ash moves it down low to Tomchuk. Ash is going to cover Ash Tomchuk as he's in deep. Tomchuk there flips it back, doesn't come all the way back to Ash. He's going to get it all the way. Nice tip there by Kane McLennan. Great save there by Hill on that beautiful tip there by Kane McLennan, but great tip, better save. And we'll get a face-off over to Hill's right. We'll see Jagger Dutka come out with Thurmeyer and Yuanchuk. The latest goal scorers for the Regina Monarchs. Monarchs up 3-1. 7 minutes, 53 seconds to go here in the first period. Thurmeyer hopes that draw through. He's been trying that a little bit lately and see if we can end up making that work at some point, trying to find Dutka heading to the back door on that face-off play. Schmulin takes a shot, gets all the way through off the blocker. Hill. Price is in on it. Price takes a hit there from Wildeboer. Yuanchuk does a good job of keeping that in briefly, but Kovic's going to go the other way. Kovic's trying to move his way around. The shot sort of gets broken up, and Wildeboer's going to get it all the way over there to Olmsted. Olmsted's going to rip a shot wide of Nixon right. Yuanchuk's going to take a big hit there from Stevens. No ice there. Again, willing to take a hit to make a play. Jarrett Yuanchuk not feeling too great after that one, but puck got out of his zone and all the way down to the Wildcat zone. Schmulin there with it now. Schmulin chips it off the wall to Reschke. Reschke able to get that in. Again, Wang's got to go in there a little harder. He could have control of that puck over here, but let up a little bit. Now Viden tries to get it through the middle. That's off the stick of Bergen, but off his stick on the wrong side of the red line, and it's going to come all the way back down into the Warman zone. 6 minutes, 47 seconds to go here in the first period. Face off to the right of Hill. Reschke, Tendler, and Wang trying to do some damage here for the Monarchs. Reschke wins the draw over to Lucas Wang. Wang back to Popwich. Popwich, nice little bump back to Lucas Wang. Wang at the top in the middle. Nice pass over to Skolin. Skolin shot there for Reschke. Great tip. Oh, what a play there. Reschke, great tip. Another chance there. Tendler was right there for another chance as well, but he got buried there as he was trying to bury the rebound. But another great chance out front for the Regina Monarchs. They're definitely getting a lot of opportunities in front of Blake Hill at the moment. See if they can keep up that play. It's 14 minutes of that so far, and we'll see if they can keep it up for a little while yet. Klapik, Green, Slade, and Ash up front here. Tomchuk and Marshall coming out on the back end. They're got last change here, and they see that Stevenson line come out, and looks like they're going to try to match up at least a D pair with those guys all night, and we'll see if they can continue to do that. Roy and Ash on the face-off after Klapik gets asked to leave, and that's a nice chip right off the boards, luckily to Nekrejko. Nekrejko loses the puck as he goes to lay a deke on Mr. Wright, and that comes right back to him there again. Nekrejko off the blocker of Wright, and that's into the netting. It was a great play off the boards. I'm not sure if that's exactly what he was meaning to do, but if it was, then that was a great play. Nekrejko was sprung there all the way down on the breakaway, but they were right on him, bothering him enough that he ended up losing the puck as he went to Deke Nixon right to the glove side. Scriven there right to Stevenson. Nice little toe drag play there, but that's up over the net. Marshall ends up riding Scriven out into the corner, comes to the wall to Greenside. Greenside's got a little bit of time. He can't quite keep control of that as he moves through the neutral zone. Mayo's going to move that back to Stevenson. Stevenson over to Scriven. Scriven played hard there by Dayton Marshall. Nice shot there by Stevenson, but that's going to go off the blocker of Nixon Wright. Stevenson with it there again, right in the middle of Scriven. They've got to follow that guy a little bit. They're trying to find that soft spot a little higher in front of the net, and they like that bump play up to that guy for a little one-timer. Jones is there. Jones is going to rip it all the way down to Nekrejko. Nekrejko over to Scriven. Scriven back to Nekrejko after losing the puck. Nekrejko with it still in the middle of Scriven. That's a broken stick there for Roy and Ash. Marshall's got it there. Kajovic working on him. Marshall spins off a check. Marshall moves it up to Tomchuk on the near side. Tomchuk tries to Spring Roy Nash can't. Tanner Greenside's going to rip it all the way in deep. That's going to get past Hill. Mayo's going to grab it on the far side. Mayo's going to rip it up the speed, but he's going to lose it there to Thurmeyer. He's going to give it a bit of a push on the back, and nothing going there. And Calder Price is going to end up with it behind the Monarchs net. He's going to try to get it back there to Schmulin. Schmulin working on Johnston down there. Olmsted backhands it back in for the Warman Wildcats. Kovic going to try to work it out front to Stevens, but now we got 3 Warman Wildcats in below the goal line. Monarchs can't necessarily take advantage of that, but it's going to come all the way down into the Warman zone. Wildeboer is going to be there to pick it up. Wildeboer tries to move it up to Stevens. There's a bit of miscommunication there, but Wildeboer's now got a step on Calder Price, but he ends up losing the puck as he's going to the net. Iwanchuk there with it now. Iwanchuk can't clear the Monarch zone. Schmulin ends up blocking that shot of Johnston. Thurmeyer there. He's going to work it out of the zone. That's going to be offside. They're going to leave that puck there for Thurmeyer. Thurmeyer's going to try to break through, but Johnston's going to pick that off. Johnston's going to throw it towards the net, and Wright's going to swallow that one up and get a face-off down in the Monarch zone. 3 minutes and 49 seconds to go here in the first period. 3-1 Monarchs. Goals by Ash, Tomchuk, and Dutka. Sorry. Couldn't remember who got that third one, but Dutka was there all on his own in front of the net for the third goal. Lots of good opportunities for the Monarchs so far in the first 16, 17 minutes of this game. Warman wins that face-off back. Johns has got it. Reschke's going to work that out of the zone. Going to get it on the stick of Viden. Viden's going to chip it in deep, and Skolin's going to be the first one back. Skolin could have just taken another 1 or 2 steps and got it on the tape there, Wang, but it's going to come out of the zone nonetheless. Viden's there. Viden's going to work it in deep behind Nixon Wright. Wright's going to grab it and rim it up the boards to Tendler. Tendler's going to try to chip it to the middle. It's going to come back on the stick of Popowich. Popowich is going to work it through, and he's going to go after it. He's going to try to beat number 16 for the Wildcats to it. He can't do that. Bergen's going to move it back down to Mikowski. Hood is broken up there by Reschke. The puck's going to come back into the Warman zone. 3 minutes to go here in the first period. Mikowski for the Wildcats moves it D to D. Try bounces just out of the reach of Scriven. Hey, there we go. There's another goal. That one going to be Xavier Skolin's going to get that one on a weird bounce there as a dump in. Hit a stick. They tried to high stick that thing down, and Hill was going one way and the puck was going the other. Feel for the goalie, but from a Monarch standpoint, that's good for us. 4-1 Monarchs. 2 minutes and 47 seconds to go here in the first period. Scriven, Nakrako, and Stevenson coming out again for the Wildcats. Nakrako's there. Nakrako trying to move it back to Scriven. He can't do it. Stevenson's got it now. They're backdoor. Marshall just tied him up enough not to be able to get much of a stick on it as he wants. Marshall lays a hit there in Nakrako. Scriven takes a shot and rips it high over the blocker side of Nixon Wright. They're going to get that back 22 seconds after they make it 4-1. Now all of a sudden that is back to a 2-goal game, 4-2. This line is definitely dangerous for Warman. They've got to do whatever they can, and I know they are already, but do whatever they can to try to keep them at bay. Now they've got a bit of a face-off set up there for Warman. Stevenson was playing defense there off the face-off. Offside for the Monarchs here gives the Warman Wildcats a chance to move it out of the zone, but they comes right on the stick of Tomchuk. Tomchuk's got Scriven in behind him. He's got to watch that. Marshall can't quite get it, and Scriven is there. Scriven's going to try to stop up and move past Tomchuk, and Nash Tomchuk's going to come out with it with speed now. Minute 53 seconds here to go in the first period. Thurmeyer's line's going to Come out here now. Thurmeyer trying to battle on that draw. It's in Dutka skates. He doesn't know it. Going to come over to Wildebauer. Wildebauer's going to try to move it up. Stevenson's going to rub out Dutka. Two big number 22s going at each other there. Calder Price going to try to backhand it out. Stevens for Warman's going to rip it back in there deep. Schmoolin's going to come try to lay a hit on Olmstead. He does. Johnston with it there now for Warman. They're going to move it back. Stevenson at the blue line. Wildebauer's going to move it all the way back around to Johnston. Johnston's going to try to chip it back to Olmstead. Olmstead's going to work it down deep. Comes all the way to the blue line here. Olmstead with it. Olmstead works around Dutka. Price is there, and Price makes a nice move back to the boards. Price is gonna, Calder Price has got to take one more step, maybe half another step, and now it's going to come all the way back down into the Monarch zone. They're going to have tired legs. Jarrett Iwanchuk took a hard hit there from Stevens. Out comes the Stevenson line. 48 seconds left. Hopefully that doesn't do some damage for the Monarchs. See if the rest of the team can pick up Calder Price on that play and work this puck out of the zone. Stevenson's going to win that back to Johns. Johns over to Scriven. Scriven tries to move it all the way back to Murkowski. Ends up coming to the stick of Stevens. Stevens, it absolutely does damage, and those small little mistakes always seem to come back and bite the Monarchs. And 4-3, 37 seconds left. Small little details there. We got to make those small little plays. One extra step there, getting that puck deep, and we're potentially going into the intermission with a 2-goal lead. But now a 1-goal lead, 4-3 Monarchs here. 30 seconds left in the first period. Scriven on it there again. Scriven moves it back to Murkowski. Murkowski moves it all the way down. They definitely like to have at least Nakreko out cheating a little bit, trying to cheat for that breakaway. So their D-men for the Monarchs are going to have to watch out for that. Face-off down here in the Monarch zone. Reschke on the face-off. Wang and Ash out there as well. Reschke loses the draw there to Scriven, and they're gone. 3-on-2 now. Monarchs are caught. Scriven takes a hit there. Nakreko tries to go back door to Stevenson with 15 seconds left, and that's chipped up. That's an elbow there. That is definitely head contact. I've seen way weaker calls for head contact than that. Tomchuk's going to go and try to get Scriven back a little bit. Bit of retribution there. After one period of play, 4-3 Monarchs. Welcome back here for period 2. If you're just joining us, first period. Monarchs took a quick 2-goal lead. Cut to 2-1. Up to 3-1. Cut to 4-2. Back to 4-3 at the end. Late goal there by the Stevenson line. Johanchuk's going to be there and get it deep behind Hill. Dutka's going to be there to cut off the Markowski clearing attempt. Dutka's there. Johanchuk sort of sitting back. Comes back to the blue line. Marshall off the pants of Stevenson and all the way back down into the Monarch zone. Monarchs captain Nash Tomchuk going to be there with it. It's going to get stopped up in a little bit of wet ice down there. Nakrako's going to get it out front. Scriven's going to be there trying to work there on right. Marshall's going to clear him out of the way. They're really giving it to Scriven here. Scriven laid a big hit on Wang. My opinion, maybe should have been a head contact penalty very late in that first period. They haven't forgot that one yet. Reschke with Ash and Greenside going to come out here. Price and Popowich out on D. Warman wins that. Biden now with it. Biden in the middle of the hood. Come all the way over to Jones. Jones fans on that shot. Down low to Bergen. Bergen gets it over to Biden. Biden into the middle of the hood. Going to come right to Nixon Wright's right. And he's going to swallow that up and get a face-off. We've got Xander Klapik's going to come and take Brody Reschke off for a bit of a rest. Klapik now out there with Greenslade and Ash. Klapik and Hood on this draw for Warman. Klapik's going to win that back to Price. Price is going to chip it up the wall. Greenside's going to be there, but he's going to get that broken up. But going to come back to Klapik over to Popwich. Popwich has got Mayo down. Popwich comes across. Hill did a good job of taking away that angle from Jake Popwich. Popwich might have had a little bit of room high blocker, but Hill came out, made a good save. Reschke, Tendler, and Wang going to come out up front. Popwich and Price are going to stay out there on the back end. Kovic there for Warman on the face-off. Kovic loses it there to Reschke, comes back to Popwich. Popwich is going to bounce it over to Price. Price is going to rip it in deep. Going to come to Stevens for Warman. Stevens, big left winger there, going to try to move it up to Kovic. Price with a long, hard shot from the blue line. That's going to go just wide. Popwich going to bounce it down there for Wang. Going to come to Johnson, and he's going to get it out to the neutral zone. Reschke's going to be there. Reschke smartly turns, looks, then makes the pass. Wang tries to get it over to Tendler. They're going to say he got a bit of a stick on that. Not quite sure about that. Reschke's going to take a hit, try to move it to the front of the net, but Kovic's going to be there with it. Wang, nice little chip back to Price. Price is going to work his way in right off the shin pads of Kovic and all the way out to the neutral zone. Nash Tomchuk there. Tomchuk's going to try to get it over to Wang. It's going to be out of his reach. Tendler's just going to slip by him all the way back into the zone. Wildebar's there. Wildebar up to Stevens. Stevens up to Nakrako. Nakrako ends up getting the back end deep behind Nixon Wright. Wright's going to grab it and leave it there for Marshall. Marshall rips it around to McLennan. McLennan can't even get a stick on that one, and it's going to go by him. Jones there, moves it to Markowski, over to Scriven. Scriven moving up the left side, drops it there for Stevenson. He drops it there for Nakrako. Nakrako shot right into the glove of Nixon Wright. Good glove save there by Wright. And we'll get a face-off over to his right. Tomchuk and Marshall, looks like they're going to stay out there on the back end, but Klapik, Greenslade, and Ash are going to come out up front. Stevenson line's going to remain out there for Warman on this offensive zone face-off to the right of Nixon Wright. Big face-off here. Klapik loses that to Stevenson. Stevenson back to Markowski. Markowski over to Scriven. Stevenson really using that stick to get a good shot away, but that's right into the shin pads of Klapik. That's going to end up coming out to the neutral zone. Ash is going to put that out. Markowski's back, and he's going to move it over to Jones. Jones is going to get it up to Nakrako. Quick Bump play there to Stevenson, tries to move it to the middle. He's broken up there. Klapik bothering the Krakow enough just to get that loose. Tanner Greenslade's going to chip that past Jones to Roy Nash. Roy Nash trying to dive and sweep that back out to the front to Tanner Greenslade, but now Ash is with it. Ash trying to move it all the way back to Dayton Marshall. He does. Marshall's going to try to get in back in, and Scriven's going to break that up. This Stevenson line's been out there for a long time. Going to move it right back door wide open to Krakow, and he's going to slip it in top corner. Even at the end of a very, very long shift, they're still going to be able to put it in the back of the net. They really move the puck around well, and we got a 4-4 tie, 16 minutes and 23 seconds to go here in the second period. They end up doing a good job of backing those D in a little bit, and then they always try to cut back to the cut to the middle and find that guy back the other way. I've done that a couple times, and see if the Monarchs can pick up on that and take that away next time. Hood wins a draw back to Mayo. Back to Hood now in the middle. Hood's going to chip it in deep. He's going to work there on Skolin. Skolin's going to end up going down. Hood's got it behind the net. Iwanchuk's going to try to move it there back all the way to Mayo. Mayo's going to throw it wide of the net. Wang's going to be there. Wang's going to go in hard on that puck and bring it all the way back. Maddox Schmulin can't quite catch up to Viden. Bergen there for the Wildcats. Bergen moves it over just out of the reach of Jones. Comes off the boards to him. He rips it in deep. Biden and Hood down there for Warman. Comes right out front. Nice stick there by Maddox Schmulin to get it out of danger. And Iwanchuk's going to flip a weak backhand out, but it's going to do the job. But that's going to come all the way back in. Schmulin's there. Schmulin, tough pass there to Iwanchuk. Iwanchuk tries to deal with it, but now comes to Reschke in the middle. Just clears it out to the boards. Schmulin lost the puck there. Bergen's going to flip it back to Mayo. Mayo's going to take that shot. Glove save there by Nixon Wright, and he'll drop it, and we will get a stoppage in play. Wholesale change on both sides. Warman going to make their change, and then accordingly the Monarchs will bring out the crew that they want. 4-4 tie, 15 minutes to go here in the second period. Lake and Thurmeyer on the face-off here against Kovic. Kovic pushes it forward, but that comes to Jake Popovich all the way over to Kane McLennan. Kane McLennan's got some time. He chips it off the boards just out of the reach of Dutka. That's not going to go for icing. Olmsted's going to get there. Thurmeyer's going to get in there. Bad pinch there by Calder Price, and we're going 3-on-1. Warman's got 3-on-1 there. Stevens takes a hard shot, and he rips it all the way around. That comes all the way back down to Dutka chasing it, but Blake Hill comes out, and weak shot there by McLennan. It's going to be soaked up by Hill, and we'll get a face-off over to his left down in the Warman zone, and we'll have the Stevenson, the Krakow Scriven line come out again for Warman. As usual, Mr. Marshall and Mr. Tomchuk coming out on defense for the Monarchs, trying to slow those guys down. Topic on the face-off against Stevenson. Bit of a scramble draw, comes back to Warman. They always are trying to spring the Krakow, and he ends up with the puck down. He tries to throw it back door to Stevenson, but just out of his reach. Greenslade comes in, takes a bit of a hit on Stevenson. Klapik battling down there. Klapik with it now. Klapik stops up, buys himself a little bit of room, and moves it all the way to the near side to Marshall. Marshall stops up past Jones. All right, out front. Roy and Ash had it on his stick, and the Warman defenseman played his stick really hard, still got a shot away and bounced right up in the air, and Hill dove back, and the Monarchs bench wants to have a conversation with the ref. Tomchuk was in there having a conversation already. Rob Marshall thought that was in the back of the net, but the ref's going to say no, he was in a good position to see what was going on there. They're going to say that Hill jumped back and was able to keep that one off the goal line. Greenslade and Ash battling down there in the corner. Stevenson comes out with it. That's broken up there by Ash. Ryan Ash going in there hard. Ryan Ash takes a hit there from Mayo. Stevenson ends up with it, chips it off the boards to Nakreko. Nakreko flips it out to the neutral zone. Nash Tomchuk with it. Tomchuk in the middle to Ryan Ash. Ryan Ash trying to move around Jones. Loses it there. Comes all the way back to Nash Tomchuk. He tries to take a wrist shot. Now we got a 3-on-1 on a fan wrist shot. Stevenson there with it. Great play there by Dayton Marshall. Realizing that the shot was coming, and he went down to take that away, and that Stevenson shot off his shin pads into the corner. Allows the Monarchs, although tired, to get all the way back. Klapik's going to grab that, move it in the middle to Wang. Wang back to Klapik. Xander Klapik rips a shot high off the blocker of Hill. It's going to go into the corner. Mayo's going to pick that up, move it over to Scriven. Tendler was coming in hard on the forecheck and almost broke that up. Back to Scriven now again. Scriven still out there. Got to be a 3-minute shift for sure now for him. Going to come onto the stick of Tomchuk. Tomchuk lays a hit there on Bergen. Gets the worst of it, actually bouncing off the boards there. So 2-on-2 battle. They don't get the D side, and Bergen comes out with a nice little shot on net, and that's broke. Nice save there. Good position for Nixon Wright. Wildebauer moves it out to Viden. Bergen still offside there. It's still offside here. Moves it up to Lucas Wang. That's still offside after a few seconds, and we'll get a face-off just outside the Monarchs blue line. 12 minutes and 14 seconds to go here in the second period. 4-4 tie. Monarchs have had a 2-0, a 3-1, and a 4-2 lead here. Now 4-4 with 12 minutes to go here in the second period. Lake and Thurmeyer coming out for the Monarchs. His line along with Johanchuk and Dupka. Bergen with it there for the Wildcats. Bergen sharp angle shot. Nixon knocks that down. 2-on-2 battle in the corner there. Schmulin knocks down Bergen. Comes back to the point of Viden. Viden steps around the winger and gets a shot on net. Wright's going to steer that one to the corner, off the glass into the netting, and we'll get another face-off down in the Monarch zone. Get a change of the defensive pairing for the Monarchs. Price and Popowicz going to come out for the Monarchs. Thurmeyer's line's going to stay out there up front. Thurmeyer against Kovac here on the faceoff. Thurmeyer's going to win that back cleanly to Price. Price is going to stop behind the net. Going to try to use the Warman play against him, but Warman broke that up neatly and put her back in deep. They were offside though, so Popowicz is going to work his way out of it. Willing to take a hit again to make a play there, and is going to get it all the way down into the Warman zone now. It's all the way deep behind Hill. Markowski there, almost cut off there by Thurmeyer, but comes up the wall to Stevens. Kovac with it now. Kovac working through the neutral zone for Warman. He ends up getting it deep. Johnson going in there for the Wildcats, working on Popowicz. Thurmeyer comes, pokes it to the far corner. Price is in there on Stevens. Comes all the way back to the blue line. Jones there for the Wildcats. He's rode into the boards there by Price. Comes onto the stick of Thurmeyer. Thurmeyer's got some room to work. He's going to move it through the middle to Jagger Dupka. Just out of his reach. Markowski's going to grab it. Long change for the Monarchs here, obviously for both teams, but Monarchs are having trouble with being able to Stevens was all the way in deep there, laying a big hit on Jake Popowicz. But that was not icing. It was offside, actually. Johanchuk was just a little bit on the wrong side of the Wildcats blue line when he tipped that puck in. So although that faceoff's coming all the way down because of where the pass came from, the Monarchs are able to change and get Johanchuk and Marshall out here against the Stevenson line. Greenslade just out of his reach, and Scriven's got that in a dangerous spot. He tries to go up over the shoulder of Nixon Wright. Ryan Ash comes down and tries to break that one up. Nice tip there by Scriven. Better save there by Nixon Wright. Greenslade moves it in deep. They're saying that's off the stick of the Wildcats D-man. That's down deep into the Wildcat zone. Klapik with it there now. Klapik moves around, tries to get a shot on net. Roy Nash right there. Roy Nash lays a big head on Mayo. Marshall ends up chipping it in deep. Down to Klapik after it. Nakreko there trying to move it in the middle to Mayo. Mayo right in front of his own net. Johns was there, but not there enough to make a play on it. Stevenson with it there now. The Wildcats captain moves it across in the middle to Nakreko. Nakreko off the side of the Monarchs net. Brody Reschke works it out of the zone. Offside. Nakreko and Scriven both caught in deep there, and they're going to go off for a change. Looks like all 10 bodies on the ice may be going for a change here. Whole new group on both sides. You see Reschke, Tendler, and Wang out up front here for the Monarchs. Skolin and Schmuland on the back end. Reschke ends up getting the draw eventually back to Schmuland. Comes to Skolin. He tries to see Tendler, and I would have thought there was a bit of a stick on that one. Looked like it changed directions, but ref had a better view than I did, so that's coming all the way back down into the Monarch zone. Get a face-off over to Nixon's right. See what Reschke can do here on this face-off. Brody Reschke against Hood there. Bit of a scramble draw. Still scrambling around there. Warman ends up with it. Bergen tries to work it to the middle of Iden. Wang's going to end up with it, and he's going to reverse back. Lucas Wang behind his own net. Works it up the wall to Tendler. Tendler takes a hit from Hood. Doesn't come out. Biden over to Wildebar. Wildebar tries to get it in. That's knocked wide by Lucas Wang. Hood there right in the middle to Biden as he's screaming in right down Main Street. Comes all the way out. Wildebar's got it in his own zone, works it into the neutral zone. Skolin one too many dusts on that puck. Hood all the way back. Biden rips it high over the net, and that's going to come out to the neutral zone. Wildebar's going to move it over there to Biden. Biden trying to figure out what to do here. He's working his way around still with the puck. Leaves it there for Wildebar. Wildebar takes a shot right into the glove of Nixon Wright, and we'll get a face-off over to his right. 8 minutes and 42 seconds to go here in the second period. Score remains Monarchs 4, Wildcats 4. Thurmeyer coming out with his line. McLennan and Dutka. Lines have been in a bit of a blender here today for the Monarchs, just seeing what's going to work, and got 4 goals here through the first half of the game, so something must be working. Long shot there by Dutka. Stevens came and really gave Thurmeyer a ride. A lot bigger body, but I guess you got to be somewhat aware of that. Thurmeyer was standing still in front of the net, wasn't hacking away at Hill or anything, and Stevens came in and just knocked him over, and that'll be a power play here for the Monarchs. Power play 1 with Klapik, Ash, and Popowich up front. Marshall and Tomchuk coming out on the back end and see what they can do. Trying to take another lead here. Had the lead for the majority of the first period. Back to Tomchuk. Tomchuk rips it in deep. Klapik's there on the near side. Klapik leaves it there for Stevenson. Stevenson rips it all the way down onto Wright. Wright's going to leave it there for Nash Tomchuk. Tomchuk's going to take a big hit there from Scriven, but he's going to end up still with the puck. He's going to move it all the way up to Dayton Marshall. Marshall's going to rim it all the way around. 2 Monarch bodies on that. Ash trying to move it down to Popowich. Popowich with it there now, moves it all the way over to Tomchuk. Tomchuk tries to throw a puck on net, ends up behind the net to Klapik. Klapik bounces it over to Popowich, over to Tomchuk. Tomchuk back to Popowich. Popowich all the way over to Marshall, wide open net. Hill came all the way across and ended up getting a pad on that. A little bit more of an elevation, would have had a bit more net, but Dayton Marshall got rid of it quick and into the pad of Hill. Full penalty kill change up for Nakreko's coming in. Nakreko tries to fit it in sort of on the back door of Nixon Wright, but he's going to shut shut that down. Nice save there by Wright. 7 minutes and 20 seconds to go here in the second period. 49 seconds left in the Monarchs power play. They'll get 5 new power play bodies out there. Thurmeyer with Lang and Dutka up front. Price and Skolin on the back end. Lang's going to try to move it back and slow things down. Skolin worked on there by Nakreko. Nakreko's Thurmeyer with it there. Thurmeyer tries to move it into the middle. Jones is going to cut it off there for Warman and going to end up getting it right onto the stick of Lucas Wang. Wang's going to get it in deep. Monarchs haven't had control yet in this last 30 seconds or so of this power play. Skolin's got it there now. Skolin loses control to Mayo, and Mayo's going to rip it in deep. And Bergen's going to actually be the first one there. Wright's going to move it up there to Viden, right on the stick of Viden. Can't quite get back into the net in time, and Wright's going to leave it there for Marshall. Marshall's going to get it all the way up to Popovich at the red line. Popovich is going to move it over to Ash. Ryan Ash is going to spin down and leave it there for Nash Tomchuk. Tomchuk working his way through the middle. Over to Ryan Ash. Ryan Ash just off the pad of Hill. Nice pad save by Hill as he was moving one way. Ash tried to put it back the other way. Minute left here in the Monarchs power play. Marshall's going to work his way around Hood. Nakreko's coming in and closing on him. Marshall's going to chip it up the wall to Popovich. It's going to just be off his stick. It'll come back to Tomchuk, but it's going to be out of his reach. Come right to the neutral zone to Dayton Marshall. Marshall's going to There's two bodies with him as Hood and Mayo go down. Back out to the neutral zone, and now Tomchuk comes in off a stick into the netting. That'll be an offensive zone faceoff here with 31 seconds to go in the Monarchs power play. Thurmeyer on the draw there. Thurmeyer gets it over to Duka. Duka whips it back to Price. Price in deep to Thurmeyer. Half wide to Duka. Back down deep to Thurmeyer. Thurmeyer's able to keep that puck on his stick after it escapes for a while. Gage Skoll, nice move there on the blue line. Going to come away from Thurmeyer. Thurmeyer really bothered there by Bergen. Bergen's going to end up chipping it by Price. Skoll first one back on Bergen. Price is in there, Skoll's in there as well. That'll do it for the too many men penalty served by Kola. Price with it now. Price just gets out of that over hit by Stevens. Bit of a scramble shift here. Comes to Thurmeyer. Thurmeyer weakly puts it up, and there's three black jerseys there. Olmstead with it now. Olmstead behind right. Comes all the way back. Slapshot comes off the stick of Skoll and softly onto right. He's going to cover that up. Allow a change up front for Monarchs. The change on the back end as well. And the top which is really coming out for a shift here on the back end. Classic Ash and Green Slate out for the Monarchs up front. 3 minutes to go here in the second period. 5-4 Wildcats. Top which is going to whip it up there to Ash. Back the other way, all the way over to Green Slate on the far side. Green Slate spins off the puck of Kova. Puts it over to Popic. Takes a hit from Johnson. Can't quite get it out. Johns is there. Johns tried to move to the middle of Kova. Nothing going there. Big hit there by Roy and Ash on Johns. Comes to Johnson though. Johnson tries to take a shot wide of Nixon right, but he's going to cover that up and get a face-off over to his right. Got the Stevenson line coming out for Warren. Also Tomchuk coming out the other way. My microphone might be dead for the rest of the evening, so I'll try to talk a little bit louder. Hopefully you can still hear me at least a little bit. 2.5 minutes to go here in the second period. 5-4 Wildcats. Thurmeyer on the face-off here. Thurmeyer loses the draw there to Scriven. Back to Markowski. Markowski right in the middle to Stevenson. He gets a shot on the blocker side, but just missed the net wide. Had to hit something on its way in. Marshall leaves it there for Thurmeyer. Thurmeyer tries to get it across. That's broken up by Stevenson. It's going to end up all the way back behind the Monarchs net. Marshall initiates one check, but Stevenson's right there. That's going to come to Drager-Dubka. Drager-Dubka's got a little bit of room. He's getting cut off from both directions. Drager-Dubka still with it. Oh, backhand. I think that, if I've ever seen a penalty shot, that might be one, but that's just a hook. He didn't quite have good enough control of the puck as he was going in there. He was sort of battling that check all the way in, and they're going to call a hooking penalty, so Monarchs going to go back to the power play again. Got enough chances here in the second period on the power play. Nothing doing yet, but we will see what they can do here. 1 minute 51 seconds to go in the second period. 2-minute power play, so see if they can get one and go into the dressing room, at least with a tie here. 5-4 Wildcats currently. Green Slade takes a hit, moves it back to Price. Price founds on that slap shot, comes right to Mayo, but Mayo gives it right back to Price. Price gives it right to Biden, and Biden gets it all the way down the ice. Nixon right there, leaving it for Xavier Stoller. Nope, decides to play it himself all the way up to kind of Greenside. Greenside takes a hit. That comes right to Viden. Over to Jones, and that's all the way down. Nixon right there. Oh yeah, I wasn't watching all that. What would it? I don't know what it would have been. Who is it?
I saw you earlier.
Xander Klopik here on the face-off. Power play draw down in the Monarchs end. That's going to come out to the neutral zone. Hey. Klopik with it, moves it over to Marshall. Marshall over to Tomchuk. Tomchuk, nice move. Ron Olmsted gets it over to Klopik. Klopik in the middle to Marshall. Marshall loses it to McCraco. McCraco on a bit of a break. Marshall trying to figure out how to. Oh, that's off the post. He had Nixon right beat, but he was off balance. Nixon was going one way and McCraco was going the other, and ended up staying out. I think that ended up bouncing off the post a little bit. But we will see a face-off down in the Monarch zone again. 56 seconds to go here in the second period. Monarchs are on the power play. Klopik loses the draw there with Stevenson. He gets it back to Johns. Johns moves it in deep. McCraco right on Marshall. Marshall with it now. He's got some room. Moves it right into the middle to Nash. Tomchuk's going to be the first one on that now. Nash Tomchuk tries to take a shot. There was a bit of a screen going through as Popovich was there. Marshall loses it to Scriven, but he gets it right back as they're trying to spring Stevenson. Dayton Marshall. Jake Popovich, he was actually trying to get that back door to Xander Klopik. That's off a shin pad and through the wickets of Hill, and we've got a 5-5 tie, 23 seconds to go here in the second period. After 3 unanswered goals for the Wildcats, the Monarchs finally get one back. As I said, we've got a 5-5 tie, 23 seconds to go here in the second period. Monarchs didn't give up a late goal in the first period. They're going to try to at least hold it here. Maybe they can make another push and try to get another good opportunity, but at least keep it here moving into the third period. Dutka with it there now. Dutka chips it past a couple of Warman Wildcats. He's stymied there by Mayo. Wildcats down there working with 3 black jerseys. Wildebar is going to put it up the wall. Scolin's going to rip a shot, no screen, right into the belly of Hill, and we'll get a face-off with 7 seconds to go over to Hill's left. Meyer on the face-off for the Monarchs. He's got Iwanchuk and Dutka with him. Kovac out taking the face-off for the Wildcats. Meyer, oh, he won it perfectly back to Dutka. Dutka worked his way off the wall nicely, but ended up a shot right into the shin pads. After 2 periods, that is 5-5. We're back here for the third period. Monarchs Wildcats 5-5 after 2. Thurmeyer line coming out to start. McCraco there with it for Warman. He's poke check there by Dutka. Comes back to Johns. Over to Stevenson. Nice pass there through the middle to McCraco. He moves it into the zone all the way across back door. Beautiful play there by the first line of the Wildcats. 6-5. Didn't take long, 16 seconds in. Monarchs had a goal 16 seconds into the first period. See if the Monarchs can answer here now. Klapik gets the draw over to Ash. Ash chips it in. Greenside's hard on it against Markowski. Takes a hit there. Ash is right in there, but he can't get it. Scriven's going to come out with it, try to move it in the middle to Stevenson. That being said, that's broken up by Tomchuk. Markowski's going to get it over to Scriven. Scriven's going to try to see McCraco backdoor. He can't quite get it over to him. Tomchuk's there, gives it away there to McCraco. Stevenson tried to get it out front to Scriven. Nothing doing there. Tomchuk trying to work it out. Now we got Tomchuk Ash. Klapik's there, making it a 3-on-1. Tomchuk comes in right into the stomach of Hill on a 2-on-1. Might have been able to do a little bit more with that. Got to be willing to share the puck a little bit there, I think. Reschke, Tendler, and Wang out up front. Reschke loses that draw there to Hood. Olmsted gets it around to Wildebar. Saying Popovich tipped that on the way past the blue line. Wright's going to get that up and can't get that past Bergen. Reschke's going to be there to stymie Bergen. Going to be a bit of a scramble, and that Olmsted's going to rip that back down behind the Monarchs' goal. Wang's going to end up ripping that down. Actually got Hill maybe a little off guard. It ended up going off his pad when I'm sure he wanted to catch that in the midsection. Johanchuk's going to be there to break up that breakout attempt by the Wildcats, and that's going to be a clearing attempt all the way down, and that's going to come back for a face-off to Hill's left. Thurmeyer there on the face-off. Thurmeyer against Hood there. Thurmeyer wins it back to Skolin. Skolin's going to rip it on net. That's off the inside of the foot of Hood, and that didn't feel very good for him, but Stevens is out the other way. Stevens trying to find Johnston backdoor. Can't do that. Thurmeyer there. Skolin there works it over to Johanchuk. Johanchuk works it up the right wing. Johanchuk ends up ripping it down deep behind Hill. Hill stops it there for Mayo. Mayo up the wall here on the near side to Stevens. Stevens chips it out past Greenside. Skolin ends up getting it in far side. Dutka is going to be the first one on it. Dutka there against Johnson. Johnson chips it back to Mayo. In the middle to Jovic. Tomchuk with it there now. Tomchuk had a bit of a step. Could have maybe taken another step or two in there, but regardless, nice shot on net there on Hill. Hill steered that to the corner though. Mayo with it there now. Mayo up the wall in the Krakow. Scriven trying to work past Marshall. Marshall ends up going down, but ends up stopping Scriven, and Scriven's got a broken stick. He's going to have to go back to the bench and get a new one. Marshall there spins back, gets it off the glass. Ash is there. It ends up popping at past him, past the D-man to Dutka. Dutka trying to go drag around Bergen. Can't get that moving in the right direction. Ash comes in, lays a hard check on Bergen. Stevenson with it there now for Warman. Horrible call there by the referee on Klapik. Klapik was just skating beside Stevenson, and Stevenson went down. Both refs are calling it. Didn't think that was something that warranted a penalty. However, Warman got the lion's share of the penalties there in the second period. That faceoff's going to come down to the right of Nixon Wright. Get Price and Popowich out, start killing the penalty on the back end with Ash and Wang up front. Bergen, Hood, and Johnston out up front for the Wildcats. Roy and Ash here trying to win the faceoff. Hopefully he can get it down the ice quick. He does win it over to Calder Price. Calder Price doesn't quite get as much on it as he would, and it's going to come over to Olmstead. Olmstead tries to rip it towards the net off the face of Jake Popowich there. Markowski there with it now. He leaves it there for Olmstead. Olmstead bumps it back to Markowski. Markowski spinning around up top, gives it over to Hood. Back to Markowski in the middle, tipped wide by Bergen. Nice play there, but tipped just wide. Popowich trying to wreak havoc there in the corner. Back to the blue line to Markowski. Markowski works it down to Johnston. Johnston throws it at the net off the blocker and just wide of Nixon Wright. Popowich there in the corner working against Johnson. Comes back up. Olmstead reverses back to Markowski. Takes a shot. Nixon Wright sees it all the way in, sees it into the glove, and going to get a stoppage in play. We'll get 4 new penalty killers and 5 new power play guys out there. Wholesale change on both sides. Tomchuk and Marshall out on the back end with Iwanchuk and Reschke out up front. Scriven, Nekrako, and Stevenson coming out. Stevenson playing the back end. Biden getting out up front as well. Comes to Johns. Johns moves it over to Stevenson. Stevenson down deep to Biden. Biden off the boards to Stevenson. Stevenson over to Scriven off the toe of Nixon Wright as he comes across. Johns has got it up top. Johns moves it down to Scriven. Scriven looks one way, shoots the other, but that's blocked there by Marshall. Iwanchuk makes a great play, reaching nice and hard there to work that out of the zone back into the Wildcat zone as John. Stevenson tries to float it across, but Tomchuk's there to take it away. Tomchuk rips it high and wide of the net. Reschke's going to be the first one there. Reschke going to see Nash Tomchuk off the skate. Tomchuk shoots, scores! Brody Reschke sees Tomchuk on the far side. Tomchuk nicely puts it up off his skate and rips it past the blocker side of Hill. We've got a 6-6 tie. 14 minutes and 23 seconds left here in the third period. Shorthanded goal there for the Monarchs. 21 seconds left to go in that power play. Wildcats power play, that is. Thurmeyer and Ash out up front. Thurmeyer pokes it through, and he's got it. Thurmeyer's going to get it into the zone. Work down a few more seconds of that Warman Wildcats penalty. Comes to the blue line. They end up working it back in. Klapik's out of the box there now. Stevenson's got it in the corner. Stevenson's now got it behind the net. He sees Nekrako there. Somebody's got to take that pass away. Marshall's going to go at it. I think the Monarchs are a little bit lost here with positional play as we got some 2-on-1 battles there for the Wildcats. Stevenson tries to work it to the middle. Klapik's going to end up breaking that up after Marshall gets on his stick. Thurmeyer tries to lay a hit on Scriven. Comes all the way back to Markowski. Markowski makes a move around Ash. Ash tries to lay a hit on him. Marshall fakes a pass over to Skolin and breaks that up all the way over to Ash. Ash leaves the puck as he was looking at where to shoot on Mr. Hill. Stevenson coming across. Stevenson all the way back to Scriven. Back door. Marshall clears that out right on the stick of Tanner Greenslade. Greenslade trying to work past Will DeBoer. Olmstead tries to get it out. Johnson's there for the Wildcats. Johnson's able to work it out. That He can skate a little bit. Johnson's going to try to work it through the middle to Stevens, but Xavier Skolin's going to take that opportunity away for Stevens. Great play there by Skolin. Kovic's got it there now. Kovic behind the net. He works it all the way up to the blue line to Wildeboer. Wildeboer's shot on net. Doesn't end up getting through. Comes all the way down on Nixon Wright. Nixon Wright's going to get that face-off over to, they're pointing to the left now. They were pointing to the right for a bit. Oh, no. Coming over to his right. Lakin Thurmeyer on the face-off here. He loses that draw to Viden. Kane McLennan with it there now. Thurmeyer moves it to Dutka. Kane McLennan trying to beat Viden to the net. Dutka's got it there in the corner, tries to work it out front. It comes all the way back to Popowich. Popowich ends up working it down deep in the zone. Dutka's the first one there, tries to work it to the middle. Nobody there. Thurmeyer's there, and just out of the reach of Dutka, going to come all the way back to Popowich. Popowich going to work around Bergen, tries to get around. That's Mayo down there, but nothing going there. Viden with it there now on the near side. He chips it to the middle. Calder Price is there. Calder Price moves it in. Jones is there. A bit of a trip up, but the trip's going to go undetected. However, the offside is not, and we'll get a face-off just outside the blue. .11 minutes, 37 seconds to go here in the third period. 6-6 tie between the Monarchs and the Wildcats. Wildcats win that face-off back to Markowski. Markowski gets it over to Jones. Krakow chips it in the middle to Stevenson. Rebound pops right out to Stevenson, and man, every time that line's on the ice, they score a goal. 7-6 Wildcats. Xander Klapik on the face-off against Stevenson. Comes over to Roy and Ash. Roy and Ash rips a shot up nice and high on Hill. Hill grabs it in his glove, and he'll get a stoppage in play there. Xander Klapik on the face-off here again against Stevenson. Stevenson's going to win that back, but Roy and Ash is going to be right there. Going to come back to Marshall. Marshall's going to throw it at the net. That's backdoor. Xander Klapik's there to score. 7-7. We got a football game here, folks. Xander Klapik on a shot from the point from Dayton Marshall, and we have a 7-7 tie. .11 minutes and 12 seconds to go here in the third period. 7-7 tie between the Monarchs and Wildcats. Klapik's going to lose that draw there to Stevenson. Stevenson's going to work his way in on his off wing. Tries to work it to the middle. Tomchuk's going to stop him there, push him into the corner. They're still in a battle there. Nekrako's got it now. Nekrako takes a shot high just over the crossbar. Stevenson there. Stevenson moves it over to Wildeboer on the D. Oh, right to the front of the net. Scriven with a nice tip there off the mask of Nixon Wright. Tomchuk chips it up the wall to Greenslade. Greenslade working hard trying to get that puck out. Comes right into the middle to Stevenson. Comes over to Nekrako. Nekrako in the corner there now. He's going to try to see Scriven backdoor, but Johnston with it there. Dodges a hit from Yuanchuk. Reschke with it now. Mayo with it there behind the Wildcats net. 7-7 tie here. 9 minutes to go here in the third period. Jones is going to grab it there behind the Warman net. Jones worked on there by Dutka. He's going to try to work it back to Mayo behind him. Thurmeyer coming in, working on Mayo. Mayo over to Stevens. Stevens tried to rip it up the wall to Govic. Nothing going there. Dutka's with it there on the far side. Dutka throws it at the net off the blocker of Hill. Come to the near side. Stevens tries to move it up the middle to Hood. Price is going to be there. Going to end up working its way over to Kane McLennan. McLennan going to try to work in there on Biden. Biden's going to reverse it there for Jones. Jones is going to work his way through the middle of the ice. Jones all the way over to Biden on the near side. Biden back in the middle to Hood. Almost had a 2-on-1 going there, but that puck is just out of the reach of Lake and Thurmeyer. Bergen there with it now. In the middle, bit of a scramble there, and Hood's going to end up with it. Hood's going to chip a backhand past Price, and he's going to go in and chase his own dump in. Hood's going to try to work it to the front of the net to Bergen, but Bergen's going to chip that wide. Price still working in there. Hood's working on him. Klapik doing a good job of staying on the D side. Bergen's going to end up coming out with it. Markowski's going to get a shot to the net. Wright's going to do a good job of looking around Hood and grab that with his glove. And we'll get a stoppage and play over to his right. Settle everything down. Xander Klapik on the faceoff here against Scriven. Klapik wins it back to Tomchuk. Tomchuk flips it up to Greenside. Greenside's got a little bit of room to work through the neutral zone. Greenside's going to get it in deep past Johns. Greenside still with it there. He leaves it there for Ash. Ash back to Tomchuk. Tomchuk just about had that off of Scriven's shin pad. Going to come all the way down to Nixon Wright. He's going to cover that up, and we'll get a face-off over to his left. All the personnel staying put for both teams. Klapik got a chance here against Stevenson. Klapik loses the draw there to Stevenson. He gets it back to Jones. Back in the middle to Stevenson. Oh, nice blocker save. Scriven just bounced past him. Markowski trying to give it back to Scriven. Just misses that, and that clearing attempt is just going to go off a glove and pop out over the glass. Get a new forward line out for the Monarchs, and that'll be the only change on either side by the looks of it. 6 minutes, 55 seconds to go here in the third period. Monarchs 7, Wildcats 7. Football season's over, but you just got to come to C6 to find a football score. Thurmeyer won that draw. Puck comes out, but now it's coming back in. Markowski comes in, and Scriven just a little bit offside there. That'll come just outside the Monarchs' end. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of the Stevenson, Scriven, Nekrako line in these last 6 minutes of this game, which based on the matchups, it looks like we'll see a lot of Tomchuk and Marshall. Duke trying to work his way out of the zone. Scriven's going to break that up. Scriven in the middle to Stevenson. He's going to rip it top corner on the blocker side. 8-7. We got to be harder on pucks. We got to take those opportunities to get pucks out. We didn't, and it's 8-7. 6 minutes, 37 seconds to go here in the third period. That line's gonna stay out there, actually. See a change up on D. We'll see Skolin and Schmulin out there. See what they can do against this Stevenson line. Ash is going to try to come up with it. Scriven's going to weakly put it there, and that's offside. As Skolin fanned on that a little bit. Klapik, Ash, and Green Slate out up front. Price and Popowich out on the back end. The Kovic line out for the Wildcats. That's, by my recollection, the second line that they would be putting out there. Comes out into the middle. Olmsted's going to break that up. Going to move it over to Johnson, and Olmsted, the D-man, is going to be the first one in it behind Nixon Wright. He's going to push it over to Kovic. Kovic's going to try to move it back. He's just going to not be able to get it all the way back to Stevens. That's going to come into the neutral zone. Wildebauer is going to move it over to Kovic. Jake Popowich is going to just move it down into the Wildcat zone. Got lots of time here. Calder Price is going to work his way all the way out. He's got a little bit of speed. We got 4 Wildcats back. He's going to throw it on net. Hill's going to just put that over to the near side. Stevens is going to run Calder Price into the wall. Popowich is last one back. Olmsted with it there now. Olmsted moving his way past Popowich. Got a bit flat-footed there, but he did a good job keeping him to the outside. Going to come back to the point to Bergen. Tipped on net by Hood. Hood's going to try to work it back, but Price is going to get it momentarily and then going to get buried there into the boards. 2-on-2 battle there down low. Ash there with it now. He's rode off by Bergen. Klapik now trying to move it out. Klapik and Ash both working hard there. Going to come all the way back. Hood's going to be the first one on it. Hood's going to try to see Viden backdoor. It's going to come back to Mayo. Mayo all the way on net, and Nixon Wright's going to soak that one up, and we'll get a face-off over to his left. 4 minutes, 41 seconds left here in the third period. Wildcats 8, Monarchs 7. Thurmeyer, Iwanchuk, and Dutka out up front. See if they can start working the puck the other direction. Thurmeyer loses the draw there, ends up coming down in deep to Bergen. Bergen works his way just out front. Hood gets a little bit of wood on it and into the pad of Nixon Wright. Hood on it again. Checked from the backside by Thurmeyer. Comes free to Bergen. Bergen's got it. He moves it immediately back to Mayo. Mayo's going to lose track of that in his feet. And it's going to come all the way up to the neutral zone to Jones. Jones is going to chip that back into the zone. Nixon Wright thought that might have been icing. They're calling no, and they're calling no icing on that one as well. Jones is the first one back. Iwanchuk chasing him down. Iwanchuk gets a stick on that. Ends up coming all the way out to Jesse Scriven. Scriven moves it into the middle to Hood. Hood over to Bergen. Bergen ends up getting that puck in deep. Schmulin lays a big hit there on Hood, and then dodges a check from Scriven. Dutka's got it now. Dutka's got a breakaway. Dutka's got a breakaway. 3.5 minutes to go. Dutka misses the net high on the glove side. Great chance there for Jagger Dutka as he got that puck going the other way, and now it's coming the other way. Jesse Scriven. Scriven trying to move around Tomchuk. Scriven in the middle. Great save there by Nixon Wright on Jones. Jones snuck in from the blue line and found himself in a really good opportunity, really good spot. Nixon Wright's going to shut that thing down, and we'll get a face-off over to his left. 3 minutes, 24 seconds to go here in an 8-7 game. Wildcats 8, Monarchs 7. Reschke there on the faceoff for the Monarchs. He's going to win that back to Marshall. Marshall comes around his net. He's high off the boards and off Greenslade. Greenslade's going to get it in the middle to Ash. Ash is going to chase that down. Scriven's going to work that in the middle to Stevenson. Stevenson trying to work around Marshall. Tomchuk there now. Tomchuk trying to work around Scriven. Nikreko trying to get it to the middle. Tomchuk's going to break that up. Tomchuk off the glass trying to find Roy and Ash. Tries to spin off the check, but Olmsted's going to be the first one back. Olmsted's got it there behind his net. Backhand pass up to Nikreko. Nikreko's going to get it in the middle to Stevenson. Scriven back to Stevenson, back to Scriven. Off the glove of Nixon Wright. Off his glove and just off to the left of the net. Now it's all the way the other way. Oh, Xander Klapik with a great opportunity. Great save there by Hill on Klapik, and that's going to come all the way down the other way, and that's going to be an icing call. We'll have some tired bodies out there for the Wildcats and out there for quite a while. Hopefully some fresh legs here for the Monarchs can do some damage. We'll have Klapik, Wang, and Greenslade all out up front. 2 minutes and 25 seconds left. We're going to see a timeout here taken by the Monarchs. 2 minutes and 25 seconds left. See what they can draw up and see what happens here in the last couple minutes. Two minutes, 25 seconds to go here in the third period. 8-7 Wildcats. Thurmeyer now up front, alongside Greenslade and Wang. Tomchuk and Marshall on D. Comes back to Jones. Jones moves it over to Markowski. Markowski up to Viden. Viden can't get it past Tomchuk. Tomchuk's going to rip it back in deep past Wang. Jones is going to be there. Wang's going to come in. Lay a hit on Markowski. We've got two bodies being held by one Wildcat. They're going to come to Marshall. Marshall's going to get a shot on Hill, and he's going to just see that through a little bit of a screen. There was a couple of bodies there, but he's going to end up finding it and getting a stoppage and play over to his right. We'll see Greenslade coming off and Ash coming on. That's the only change for the Monarchs. Wholesale changes there for the Wildcats. We'll see the Stevenson line coming out. I assume we'll see them for the rest of the game, the last 2 minutes. Tomchuk keeps that puck in, and Wang's first one on it. Olmsted's going to beat him there. He's going to get it over to Mayo. Mayo's going to move it to Scriven. Scriven's going to flip it high over, trying to catch Stevenson in flight, but Marshall's going to be there. Stevenson's going to be the one to come up with it, though. Colin Stevenson moves it back to Scriven. Scriven's going to move it around. We got to have two bodies on that. We've got to be able to get the puck moving the other way in a hurry. Stevenson on it. He's going to waste a bunch of time coming back into his own zone. He's going to move it over to Olmsted. Olmsted through the middle to Nikreko. Nikreko's going to move his way around Marshall, and he's going to either throw it off the mask or over the net. Not sure what happened. I might have caught a little bit of the mask of Nixon Wright. Tomchuk's going to get it up the wall to Wang. Tomchuk's going to try to go after it. Tomchuk's going to strip Hood of the puck. Tomchuk's going to come in. Oh, shot just off the pad of Hill. Trying to look and fake like he's going to the glove side and catch him on the blocker side, but nothing going there, and that puck's going to come all the way back down to Hill. We're going to get a pulled goalie. They're going to throw that puck just wide. They come around to Popwich. Popwich in the middle to Klapik. Dutka's with it now. That's way offside. We can't have that happening when we got control of the puck with 38 seconds left. Again, it's just those little things. Had a few of those today that ended up, unfortunately, in the back of the Monarchs net, but we still have 38.6 seconds to go here. See what we can do. We're still going to have Nixon Wright pulled from the net. We've got 6 on 5. Klopek's going to be on the face-off here against Stevenson. Klopek's going to lose that draw to Stevenson. It's going to come back to Markowski. Markowski's going to rip it around, but Dudka's going to be the first one there. It's right past him. Popowich is going to try to work his way through. Stevenson with it there. Stevenson rips it all the way down, and that puck's going to go for icing. 25 seconds left. Little bit of a break there for the Monarchs. They're going to get a couple new bodies on the ice. See if they can make something happen here in the last 25 seconds. 8-7 Wildcats. Nixon Wright pulled from the goal. We got 6 on 5 action. Lake and Thurmeyer trying to win the draw forward and trying to catch them backdoor. A bit of a scramble. That's going to pop out front just past Dutka, and only 14 seconds to go here. Tomchuk's with it now. Tomchuk throws it past Stevenson. He gets past Nekreko. He moves to the middle. Nash is still working through. Tomchuk just sort of flips it on net with 6 seconds left. That was a great opportunity there for Nash Tomchuk. A lot of effort there getting it to the middle, and almost just got enough of a stick to get up over the head of Hill, but didn't. Now we got 4 seconds to go here. They've taken their timeout already, so they're trying to yell a face-off play from afar. Nash is going to take the face-off. We're all going to just try to scramble towards the net and see who can muscle things out. Tomchuk's going to push a couple bodies there. He's going to push down Scriven. Scriven's going to be chasing after Tomchuk. Bit of a scramble at the end. I didn't see, looked like Roy and Ash and Stevenson came together. Stevenson looking like he got the worst of that. And the coach just got teed up. He'll be missing the next game. Made a trip down for one game of a 2-game road trip.